So today we're doing notes in linear system using I said notes in using linear systems to solve problems, aka word problems. Okay. So today is word problem day. We're gonna work on this for the next 16-ish minutes, and then we're gonna take our quiz. So if possible, please make sure you have your laptop already out so that when it's time to take the quiz, you are good and ready to go. All right, word problems. I know y'all are so excited about it. So word problems, the steps to solve word problems. We're gonna solve each problem using the system of equations. First thing you wanna do is identify the unknowns, and you wanna label them using X and Y variables or ones of your choice. Then we're gonna create the two equations and then decide how do we wanna solve them? Algebraically, graphically, or using a table. And then solve the system and answer it to how it pertains to the original problem, okay? So for example, we have 8 pens and 7 pencils, and they cost $3.37, while 5 pens and 11 pencils cost $3.10. What is the cost of each pen and each pencil? So you got to establish your variables. So I'm going to let X equal pens, Y equal pencils. Okay, so from there, in the first sentence, I know that there are 8 pens, 7 pencils, and cost means they equal $3.37, right? So I'm going to write my first sentence. I have 8x plus 7y equals $3.37. Okay, in the second sentence, it says I have 5 pens, 11 pencils, and they cost $3.10. So my second sentence is 5x plus 11y equals $3.10. Now I get to decide, how do I want to solve this? So do I want to solve it algebraically? Do I want to solve for y and solve it graphically? How do we want to solve it? I'm fine either way. So if we choose algebraically, that means that we're going to decide on a variable to eliminate or decide on substitution. Either way, it goes. So if I chose to eliminate x, I would ask myself, what is the LCM between 8 and 5? And the LCM between 8 and 5 is 40, right? And so that means I'm multiplying everything at the top by positive 5 and everything at the bottom by negative 8. So I'm working with 40x plus 35y equals, and 337 times 5 is 1685. So 1685. Then I have negative 40x minus 88y equals negative 24. Uh-oh, my pen's going crazy. My pen's going crazy. 80. X's cancel out. I'm left with 35 minus 88. Gives me 53, negative 53y equals 24 Good morning. Minus 1685. And that gives me negative 795. Divide by negative 53. And that gives me, uh-oh. My, my, my big finger got in my way. I deleted my word. 15 cents. Y equals 15 cents. So we know that this is 15 cents. So once I know the price of one, then all I have to do is substitute to find in the price of the other. I'm going to use the small, oh, they're about the same amount of work. Okay. So we have 5x plus 11 times 15 equals $3.10. 5x equals $3.10 minus, what's 11 times 15? 0.15 cents. $1.65. So 310 minus $1.65 gives us $1.45. So 5x equals $1.45. Divide by 5. And that gives us 29 cents. So how much does each pen cost? Well, pens cost 29 cents and pencils cost 15 cents. Guys, my biggest pet peeve, or one of them, is when people put the dollar sign after the money. It tortures my soul. The dollar sign goes before the amount. If you put the cent sign, I can work with it. So if you write 29 cents, we're cool. But if you write this, we're not. We're not friends. No, it's just, yeah. But yeah, so we work this one by hand. We will do the next ones graphically. All right, cool. Looks like a bunch of jumble, but hopefully you're okay. All right, here we go. I tried to make up or come up with as many possible word problem scenarios. A shipping company charges a fixed amount for their services and a certain amount per mile they must travel. If a 50-mile trip costs $112 and an 80-mile trip costs $157, find the fixed cost and the cost per mile. So our two variables that we're looking for are fixed cost and cost per mile. Do we see that? So we can let x equal our fixed and y equals our cost per mile. I'm just going to write CPM. So reading the first sentence, we have a 50-mile trip cost. So they have their fixed amount, right? Plus 50 times some y equals $112. Because that's your cost per mile. Agreed? Then we have our 80-mile trip. So you have your fixed cost plus 80 miles at some rate equals 157. Looking at this problem, it actually leads itself to be a substitution. And that's because I can easily get one variable by itself. Do we see that? So if I choose to do substitution with this problem, I can get x by itself. So x equals 157 minus 80y. And I'm going to substitute it in for that x. So that gives me 157 minus 80y plus 50y equals 112. Combine my like terms. I get 157 minus 30y equals 112. Subtract my 157, and we get negative 30y equals 45, negative 45. And then divide by negative 30. So the cost per mile is 45 divided by 30. I keep equals, in terms of money, it's $1.50, right? So instead of 3.5, we write it as $1.50. So now we know that this is $1.50. So the cost per mile is $1.50. Remember, we can take that value and plug it in. So we now have x equals 157 minus 80 times $1.50. So we have 157 minus 80 times $1.50, and that gives us 37. So now we know the fixed rate. And what is the fixed rate? $37. So the fixed rate is $37. The cost per mile is $1.50. Do we see why this problem led itself to substitution? Good? Awesome. All right, this is gonna be our last one before the quiz. The drama club at Lincoln High School sells hot chocolate and coffee at the school's football games to make money for special trip. At one game, they sold $200 worth of drinks and used 295 cups. If hot chocolate sells for 75 cents and coffee sells for 50 cents, how many coffees did they sell? Okay, so our two variables are coffee and hot chocolate, agree? So we have x equals coffee, y equals hot chocolate. I'm trying to go coffee free this week. Day 2, no coffee. Don't tempt me, Josh. All right. So first thing we know is that one game they sold $200 worth of drinks and used 295 cups. So we know combined x plus y equals 295 cups. Agreed? And then it tells us the money. So money-wise, hot chocolate is 75 cents and coffee is 50 cents. So 50 cents for coffee, 75 cents for hot chocolate, and they made $200. How do we feel about reading and setting up? Good? So at this point, it wants us to solve for coffee only. And so since it only wants us to solve for coffee, we only have to get y by itself and substitute, because the only variable we care about is x. Does that make sense? So if I get y by itself, that gives me y equals 295 minus x. So I substitute that in, and we have 50 cents plus 75 cents times 295 minus x equals 200. What is 3/4 of 295? 221. Okay, combine my like terms. You have 50 cents, you spend 75 cents, you're left with 1/4. Well, you owe a quarter. I'm going to subtract 221.25. I can talk. And that leaves me with negative 21.25. Divide by negative 25. And a quarter of that is what'd you get? Not a quarter. My fingers on my phone are like so tiny on this little thingy. All right, here we go. X equals 85. So how many cups of coffee did they sell? 85 cups. And that's the answer that it wants. Did it ask anything about hot chocolate? No, so you don't have to go any further. All right. So we can continue more examples tomorrow, but we're going to stop right here so that you can take your quiz.